Hi, my name is Priya, and I'm a student at NYU London in the sophomore year. My N number is N19895517.
I'm Benjamin Engler. My N number is N14353561, and we will be arguing for the affirmative. Freedom of speech was enshrined in the Constitution to ensure basic civil liberties, allowing citizens to voice dissatisfaction and criticism of public officials and the government structure. Although this statute is certainly necessary for a democratic state, it does not extend so far as to put others' lives and liberties in danger by speaking out. The recent slew of controversial exposures of state secrets, which have put both military and civilian lives in danger, have brought to light the need for the restriction of some speech. In a post-9/11 world where counterterrorism efforts require an unprecedented level of secrecy and international cooperation, there is a demonstrated need for increased government secrecy and advanced information gathering techniques. For these reasons, we stand to affirm the resolution that freedom of speech should not extend to state secrets. Contention 1. Lack of secrecy makes international cooperation difficult. In a world of global terror, the cooperation of international intelligence organizations is essential. According to former Department of Homeland Security Secretary Michael Chertoff, quote, "You cannot conduct diplomacy or intelligence activities without the ability to keep those confidential," end quote. He goes on to discuss the fact that state diplomats will only be willing to share intelligence and negotiate openly if they trust the United States as a partner. Each time state secrets and cables between these states are exposed, the trust is broken and future cooperation becomes less likely. Contention 2. Intelligence gathering techniques have prevented attacks. Since 9/11, the United States has had to completely revamp its intelligence techniques in order to avoid another national security breach. The exposure of the very nature and details of these strategies by Edward Snowden, for example, stunts the progress we have made in these last 13 years. On January 19, 2006, Roll Call Executive Director Morton Kondracki outlined Chertoff's assertion that, quote, "a number of cases where actual terrorist operations had been disrupted, apparently as a result of NSA eavesdropping, including efforts to smuggle a missile launcher into the United States, to cut Brooklyn Bridge cables with a blowtorch, and an attempt to blow up a fertilizer bomb in London," end quote. Whatever the intentions of whistleblowers such as Snowden, the fact that these techniques by the United States have actually manifested in the prevention of attacks justifies the censorship of this kind of speech. General Michael Hayden, former director of the NSA, even said of the current program of tapping into international bank transfer systems to track terrorist financing, quote, "If we had had this program in place before 9/11, we would have had identified some of the al-Qaeda operatives in the United States," end quote. The exposure by the press of this U.S. intelligence brings to question a lot of ethical dilemmas. Alan Dershowitz of the New York Times makes a very salient point when he discusses the, quote, "difficult issue is not whether, but when to publish," end quote. Most people can agree that a government secret such as this should eventually be public knowledge, and then the public can voice their opinions on whether it should be used more in the future. But to expose the effort right at the heart of its effectiveness is to compromise a legitimate anti-terrorism activity and put lives around the world in danger.
Contention 3. Citizens must give up some freedoms during wartime. According to the social contract by Rousseau, the citizen of the state, either tacitly or explicitly, agrees to surrender some of their freedoms in exchange for protection of their remaining rights. One of the primary reasons for a state to protect its citizens from danger. Once this fundamental contract is breached, an individual can no longer rely on the freedom of speech to justify their actions. Past examples of exposing state secrets have given undeniable justification for denying this right under the Constitution. In conclusion, it remains clear that the exposure of sensitive intelligence strategies and counterterrorism effects is too damning to national security in a time of such international turmoil. To facilitate international cooperation, prevent future attacks, and maintain productive diplomatic relationships with allies and enemies, we resolve that the freedom of press should not extend to state secrets. Thank you.
Thank you.